One ring. One ring. And I'll tell you, buddy, that one right there ain't it. Anything. Give me anything. Anything but that. This isn't going in my deck, man. Are you kidding me? All right. Anybody, everybody. Is anybody putting this in their deck? I want to know. I want to know. Is it me or is this just, I'm sorry, like, come on. Wizards, I'm going to show you guys what powerful is. And who agrees with me that the One Ring is missing one of the most powerful things in Magic, right? That ring is lacking. It's lacking nothing because it has a casting cost. Like, why would this have a casting cost? I mean, I'm sorry to say, 4 mana. It doesn't produce mana even. That's the worst part. Indestructible. When the One Ring enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. Tap and put a burden counter on the One Ring, and then draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. Okay, so yeah, that indestructible thing's pretty neat. Okay, that's cool because artifacts like that are a total target. I get that, kind of neat. But let's talk about why that's not that neat to me. That 4 mana casting cost, like Wizards of the Coast is like they are tone deaf to like a whole parameter of people that play their game. And that would be people that, man, I mean, not everybody like wants to build like this flavorful thing. Like some of us like want to play like an efficient game. So in my play groups, I guarantee I will be like hard pressed in Commander or CEDH even to even see this, I think, in the people I play with. I wouldn't expect to see it. And if you want to play it, like, sure. I mean, this thing could be a problem. Of course, like, is it a good card? Yes. I think it's a good card. The casting cost, even if it was 3, 1 casting cost less, and I'd say it was a great card. But 4 mana, like, holding up 4 mana like that, I mean, so, like, what would my suggestions be? First, let me say something. The Lord of the Rings series is my favorite fantasy series. I consider like The Hobbit as the prequel, of course. I read The Hobbit as a really young kid and read everything Tolkien wrote. I loved Tolkien's works. People don't know he was a very much of a linguist and actually wrote the Jerusalem Bible. He did like a bunch of translations for it. He was insanely good with languages and stuff. And it was known to like do ancient translations. Definitely shows in the meticulous nature he approached his work. So he's my favorite RR. I have another RR that's my least favorite fantasy series. I don't need to say what that is, right, George? Not a fan of the Game of Thrones. But anyways, enough about that. We're going to talk about this and what I think this should have been. So what do we have with Lotus? Let's talk about that. We have 0 mana, Wizards of the Coast. That is the power. Okay, you realize this, Wizards? This is the power. I mean, you wanted to make that modern legal, I understand. Is that correct? I probably should know this, but that set is modern legal, or is that like a commander centric card? Because if that's not a modern legal card, I mean, I don't know. 4 mana. So what makes these cards powerful? Even like 1 mana casting cost here on Soul Ring. Soul Ring's powerful because it is a free mana on the board. And to me, one of the most accessible, one of the best free mana sources, I have a video just about this, is Lotus Petal. This is the people's free mana right here. And also, gold border cards. This is the people's free mana right here. I love it. Why wouldn't you run these? These are allowed in Commander. I've never seen anybody poo-poo about these. This is, it's not a proxy. It is a Magic card. It's made by Wizards of the Coast. It's printed. So that being said, these 0 mana costs, like Jeweled Lotus, sacrifice Jeweled Lotus, add 3 mana of any one color, spend this mana only to cast your commander. So there is something very powerful. We have 3 mana only to cast the commander. So let's say we add 0 casting cost to our ring. So our ring will have a 0 casting cost. We can tap our ring to add 2 colorless mana to our mana pool. We can add 2 mana of any color to our ring, or to our mana pool if we sacrifice this. Okay? So it's fast mana. We can tap it and add 2, or 2 colorless, or we can tap, we can sacrifice it and add 2 mana of any color. And when it enters the battlefield, it's like a silence effect. So that is overpowered, right? Super powerful. I mean, so when our ring enters, it's a 0 mana cost. It gives us a silence-like effect until end of turn. We can tap it for 2 colorless, or we can sacrifice it for 2 mana of any color. Thoughts on that? That is what the ring should have been, okay? Because this, I'm sorry, like, okay, I'm going to give you guys a choice. Would you rather have this in your commander deck, right? That? Or would you rather have that? Okay, let's say it was the most expensive version you could get of this. If you could have any version of the Chrome Mox, let's say you could have, any version of the Chrome Mox, or any version of this, and money wasn't an issue, and you couldn't resell it, you had to use the card. So the card had to be played in the deck. Which one, if you had to choose just one, would you rather have in your deck? Which one? Okay, and I'm going to ask the same question. Your commander deck, which one would you rather have in your commander deck? If you had to, I mean, come on. Are you going to really cut a place? Like, I'm not going to make a place for this. Just me. But I guess, like, there's of course there's ways to cheat it out and stuff, but I don't know. Indestructible, it's not that big of a deal. We know this. It's an indestructible artifact. That's annoying. But it's not undoable, and that 4 mana cost, plus it doesn't produce mana. Get rid of something and make it produce mana of some kind. Like, the card draw is okay, but I mean, it's not instantaneous. So this is going to come in the battlefield. It's not like this turn. I mean, in a lot of commander formats in modern, a turn can be a lot, right? So we don't want to wait until our next turn to use our thing. Like, to get that card draw, it's not like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just not scared of it. You know what I mean? Because, okay, draw your card, as the turn goes around, even if they get to draw a card, a lot of the commander decks I see are optimized so that cheat out an artifact or something, but things happen very quickly at the CEDH table, and we need to deal with things as they come. And this, to me, this is Clunk City, Utah. Clunk City, man. So do I get excited about it? Not too much. And that thing where they're putting the one serialized card in a pack, that is the biggest repack in Magic the Gathering history. I mean, is that even legal? Like, come on. Like, they're going to probably put them in theme booster packs. So we're going to be opening some of this stuff. That being said, like, we got some products of Lord of the Rings and that. I don't hate it, but I just don't think this card's that good. And I do think Tolkien, like, I wouldn't want to see, like, great works of literature necessarily, like, become kitsch or, like, something that's like a tabletop game. Like, imagine Brothers Karamazov or The Jungle, great, like, literature, like, where pop culture, sure. But I mean, is Lord of the Rings pop culture? Certainly. Thanks to, like, the Peter Jackson movies, which were not bad, but if you guys haven't seen the animated Lord of the Rings, if you're going to watch it, not read it, watch that. It's amazing. But to me, any one, not maybe Arcane Signet. If this had like a 1 mana casting cost, it'd be pretty amazing. I mean, Arcane Signet's good. Why do you run it in a commander deck? Here's a good example. Like, okay, we play Soul Ring and a land. Play a land, play Soul Ring, tap, play Arcane Signet, turn 1. That's like a wonderful, like, old school, like, in commander. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. I don't think Wizards of the Coast has its ear to the tracks when it comes to, like, I'm sorry to say, like, the older guys that play, guys like me that we're interested in, like, funny things and, like, breaking the game more than, like, having, like, a deck of hobbits or something. Like, oh, I'm going to create the deck that has the characters, then go. I love that idea and stuff. It's like drywall or something. It is. Anyways, Yeah, I'm not such a fan of these like flavorful cards with like high mana costs. And even like if you use, there's so many other things I'd like to cheat out than the One Ring. Like if you're gonna cheat out an artifact, there's way better ones to cheat out even. So even if you can cheat this out, and people will say like, well, we can cheat it out, tap it, get the burden counter, you know, give it flash instead of indestructible then or something. So you can flash it out and have the burden counter on there on somebody else's turn, and then when your upkeep comes around, you can get that card draw on your turn instantly. So yeah, is it that good? No. And who can bear it? It's such a burden to bear. You know, the Eye of Rudy will be upon you if you get the one with the serial number. Well,